Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, guys, so this article is from Scott.net, and it's dated Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Puppet Masters. Cover-up of P-File Child Essay by Scientology by Mike Gomez. When reading the stories of Child Essay and how Scientology management tried to cover them up, then remember there's a Scientology policy stating that Scientologists who are upstat, those doing very well, and are making a lot of money for Scientology, should never be punished, while those who are downstat should be investigated. Gabriel Scott Williams reportedly was such an upstat person who was making lots of money for Scientology, and so victim Jennifer was to be stopped filing a complaint about the gruesome sexual and psychological abuse of Gabe Williams. Hold on, guys. Source HCOPL 1, September 1965. Ethics Protection. In short, a staff member can get away with murder so long as his statistic is up and can't sneeze without a chop if it's down. When people do start reporting a staff member with a high statistic, what you investigate is the person who turned in the report. So again, here is shown how the policy lays out that it is 100% okay to be breaking laws, whether in the United States, whether in Australia, whether in the UK, whether in Perth, Australia, whether in Africa, as long as they are upstat. And that goes for all crimes. Child Blankist, Gabriel Williams, Scientology Sex Assault Nightmare, New York Post, 2 October 2005. A former Scientology staffer is breaking her silence about being sexually assaulted 100 times at ages 16 and 17 by the cult supervisor, Gabriel Williams. She was ordered to live with. Yes, she was ordered to live with this guy. And then receiving threats and intimidating phone calls, fair game, when she reported the abuse. In a related civil suit brought by Stewart against Williams and the church, she recently received, as part of the settlement, a generous monetary resolution, said her attorney, although the cult admitted no wrongdoing. They never do. It forked over about $700,000, sources say. Gabriel Scott Williams, California registered sex offender profile display. Other files were placed on this page temporarily and the police files about the harassment the Gorman family received, plus copies of the complaint against Scientologist artist Gabriel Williams, who was convicted of sexual battery and sodomy, are now collected on a dedicated page. So that just goes to show we all know the police know exactly what's going on. And the dirty cops are 100% in on all this stuff. They know. They know, they know, they know. Donald Anthony Strawn, State of Florida versus Donald Anthony Strawn. A Scientologist by the name of Donald Anthony Strawn, also known as Tony Strawn, was convicted in 1995 to 30 years in prison for sexually molesting two girls ages 11-13. The children were in his custodial care at the time. Scientology directed under threat of expulsion that the mother not report the incident to the proper authorities because the cult could handle his operation. Over and over and over we hear this. They never do handle anything. In fact, what they usually do is take the children that were abused and send them to the RPF. Tell them they are out 2D because they were AR'd by a full-grown ass adult. Tony Strawn is currently incarcerated by the Department of Corrections, Florida. Letter of Yolanda Howell to Dennis Ehrlich. Oh boy. One little baby. This is why I've been really digging up on the babies, and for some bizarre reason, the videos that I label babies or anything with infant, they just sit there. One little baby I knew in the Sea Org got HERPES during a cadet org epidemic. A 14-year-old girl disclosed to me how she and a few other little girls were leaving the cadet org in the daytime and performing S services for one of the girls' uncles in exchange for money. A man who worked in the cadet org admitted he was sexually molesting the children. Although these incidents were written up, as far as I know, they were never handled. But nobody knows this is going on, right? It's all just one big MF secret. Nobody knows anything. Low Priority for Child Welfare by Adeline Dode-Bova. These were the children of dedicated Scientologists. Money. Students' files revealed previous teachers' statements of incidents of physical and sexual abuse. All of these cases were reported to the principal. I'd also like to see the credentials of these teachers and principals. No offense to them, because I know it's all just insane what's going on. The reports were handled by Scientology alone. Teachers dared not report these crimes on their own outside the school for fear of losing their jobs. I would have lost my job. But idiocracy is just rampant. The Mace Kingsley Ranch by Oscar Woodcraft. I just started hearing about this one. I'm by no means am I an expert, but I know there are various ranches. Perhaps, well, we're going to hear. And I think that I'm like, what do you call that? I've touched on these subjects before. Sorry, guys, but I just thought that this was a really good, like, miniature article touching on other written statements that I wanted to cover. So that's by Astor Woodcraft, and I'll definitely leave a link in the description box. I was 13 years old. I think I was 13. Everyone had beer and got drunk. Grooming. I think the first night or the second night I was up there, I was sitting next to him and I had a few beers, and so had he. And so had everyone else. And he put his hand down my shirt and down my BRA and started feeling me. And it really scared me. And I asked my friend later, I said, "What's Wally Hanks doing? Why did he do this?" And she said, "Oh, don't worry. He just does that with the girls. That's just what he does, but don't worry about it." So, and then here, okay, there's just so many levels of wrong, as we know. There's no oversight. And the teachers that were trying to report it, so we see that they were trying to do something about it. Like, who's overseeing these people, right? And there's also, I may share it one day. There's an extremely disturbing video. It's actually an audio recording. Somebody audio recorded that SOB, Wally Hanks, heinously beating a young boy. And the FBI still doesn't do anything. Like, anyways, I'll talk about all that later. Ex-Scientologist Jane Scott writes to John Ashcroft, "What we did not know about when we took our son to Mace Kingsley was that Wally Hanks was a pedophile who was engaged in illegal relations with at least one or perhaps several of the girls in his charge." Better words for that would be essaying and R-ing, because that's non-consensual, by the way. In case nobody understood, that's non-consensual. It's against their will. Just, let's get that clear. One weekend when his younger brother and I went up to see Jesse at the ranch, it was in obvious turmoil, and there appeared to be several new adults around. Yeah, I wonder. What kind of adults do you think were around there? Jessie swore us to secrecy and then explained that one of the girls and her boyfriend had run away because she freaked out about Wally's sexually molesting her and her not wanting to go on anymore. No shit. And the cops don't know anything about these, right? They don't know anything about this stuff. All these teenagers running away, grown women being hard and running out in the street because they're having some kind of a breakdown, and then people bring them back, but nobody knows anything. Give me a break. I don't know where this Mace Kingsley is. Former Mace Kingsley staffer Wally Hanks, after his Mace Kingsley time, started his own school for... Oh, wonderful. Wow, isn't that great? Former Mace Kingsley staffer Wally Hanks, after his Mace Kingsley time, started his own school for troubled Scientologist kids. Vulnerable. The Hanks Ranch in April 2004, a former student told of the time there in Little Ranch of Horrors. I'm going to be following a lot of these links, and I may be reading it. Nobody knows anything, though, right? Wally beat the shit out of me once for running his horse too hard. We had another whacked-out Vietnam vet who was clearly psychotic, and a pedophile, of course. Stay there for a few months, living in a tent, out in the back of the property. On a camping hunting trip to the Indian mines, he completely lost his mind, took all his clothes off, grabbed a couple of GUNS, and took off into the desert. We found him a couple days later. Yet nobody knew any of this is going on, right? It's just all a big MF secret. Kids torturing animals, older kids making younger kids perform HOMO sexual acts on them. Everybody's all screwed up. Sick. I'm sure there's tons more, but I'd have to sit and think about it. But I guess the FBI doesn't know about any of this stuff, right? Nobody knows an MF thing. Wallace Hank's Scientology page vanished, but here is still a partial copy. It's all about screenshotting, guys. It's just one way we can get it. Hanks is currently founding Commodore of a sailing club for youth. Isn't that wonderful, you guys? I'm starting to sound like Serge. I watch his videos. The Roundhouse Yacht Club. I'll have to check that out. Isn't that just freaking great? Apparently the MK Ranch was closed. You don't say. That's how cover-up works. I don't know why, but the following explanation was given by the state website. Oh, so the state of Mexico knew about it too, huh? Wow. But yet it all still going on, right? State of New Mexico Department of Education, June 10th, 2002. It's 22 years ago? Non-Public Schools Commission to meet on June 14th. Santa Fe, New Mexico, the Non-Public Schools Commission will meet on Friday, June 14th. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. It's 22 years ago. I'm trying to just get a gist of what they're talking about. So some commission was going to meet. Nobody went to jail, though, did they? In addition to accreditation summaries, the commission will discuss the ranch school, which was formerly the Mace Kingsley Ranch School. Oh, wonderful. So they rebranded it. The Mace Kingsley Ranch was renamed Hacienda del Espiritu Incorporated, aka New Mexico Ranch, and is currently April 2004 for sale. Oh, okay. This reminds me of that other show that I watched with the young people in the boarding school. I just watched that on Netflix. Note that in Clearwater, Florida, Mace Kingsley Family Center exists with Jeff Averin as ED, Ed Cram as auditor, and Carol Kingsley as president. Isn't that just wonderful? Life aboard Scientology's ship, the Apollo, in 1968. Like I said, I'm going to be following some of these links and seeing what they got there. This is the one of their ships, the Apollo. Everybody makes it out that it was just so wonderful. And there probably were good times before, it became extremely diabolical. But the Free Winds and the Apollo, and how they love to lock little kids up in that little engine room. And you cannot tell me that little children have not died in that room. There's no way. Working 12-hour days for little or no money. Well, they're a child. Whomever's talking, they're a child, but I wish I knew how old. Sleeping in overcrowded dormitories with strange adults led to sexual abuse. Again! This is what the LAPD protects, right? Isn't that wonderful? And all this in the good name of Scientology. Right. If any of you sick Fs who are in the business today can explain why this happened to me, especially while God himself was on board, I'll be happy to know. It is interesting to note that Scientology asked for exemption of a sexual exploitation legislation in Texas that would forbid counselors to have sex with their patients. Oh, wow, so the cover-up continues. Perhaps Scientology feared past and present sexual abuse victims would sue them. No kidding. And also, too, we have to remember a lot of the Scientologists that are in there now are going to come out. And I really, really hope that a lot of them come forward with their stories. The police that protect these scum aren't going to do anything. they're going to say, oh, the statute of limitations is up, so sorry that you were R'd as a 3 or 4-year-old. Sorry. But what I'm hoping for is that a lot more victims come forward, to include the boys that were abused. They make homosexuality such a evil thing. I believe that's why a lot of boys that were abused are not coming forward. But we have to remember, a lot of people that are still in Scientology were abused, and once they start coming out, more stories are going to come out. So back to what this person was talking about. I'm going to go to the next one. American Family Foundation, The Cult Observer, Volume 11, Number 4, 1994. This is kind of going all over the place. Scientologists and psychiatrists, the Church of Scientology, our implacable foe of psychiatry, took an unexpected stance toward recently passed legislation in Texas prohibiting psychotherapists from engaging in sex with their current or former patients, according to John Bush. That's always against ethics. According to John Bush, executive director of the Texas Society of Psychiatric Physicians, the Church or Cult of Scientology asked for a waiver because the bill would also apply to clergy who do psychological counseling. Wow, that was in 93 they asked for that. From Scientology receives tax exemption, Psychiatric Times, dated 12/11. Anyways, it's in 1993. Scams debt. Evidence of disturbing neglect of Scientology children. Chris Owens citing internal Scientology documents, June 1997. Which, by the way, it's going on right now. And that's what all these cops are protecting. They're protecting for the children to be abused because they don't care and they don't adhere to laws. When I was a nanny for the first 10 months of being in the Sea Org, I would often pick up the kids and give them a hug or sit them on my lap. Sometimes when I would do this, I would get an ERECTION. Oh, God. This was like a 2D restum, I guess, and sort of surprised me, embarrassed me. Jesus, I didn't know that was coming. I tried to code that one pretty good. Okay, guys, I will definitely put the link in the description box, and I'm going to keep digging today. I found something else that was interesting about a little baby that had passed from shaken baby syndrome that was in Scientology, and I was having a real hard time getting to the link, but I'm going to keep digging. Peace.